Hi, today I'd like to talk about this desk warming mat that I've got. I bought this a couple months ago and I actually use this as work primarily. And I thought it works so good at work, I wanted to do somewhat of a review of it because I think it's really worth exploring if you're interested in something like this. It's a desk mat and it's heated. And it's a real nice thing, addition to your desk, especially at my job where we have regular cubes and the desktops are generally more like a Formica type material. And it tends to absorb a lot of heat off your wrist and things, your hands, so they generally are kind of cool. Even though the room might be warm, it seems like these desktops are usually pretty cool. So I bought this pad. I got it off Amazon. I'll put a link down in the description. But the thing's great. You've got plenty of room to operate here. It's kind of like those old school desk pads you used to see when you were younger with the calendar on it and everything. It's a good surface to write on and everything. But primarily what's great about them is it's warm. And gosh, it's when your hands are really cold sometimes and you're working at the computer all day, it's really nice just to have that surface to rest your hands on, because it really is truly a good feeling. And it's really helped a lot with any kind of carpal tunnel or tendonitis or things. It just seems like it gets better circulation to my hands overall, and it's just been a better experience at work when I use this thing. It's got a simple on-off switch over here on the side, and it's got two settings. I don't know if you can see the little light when it comes on, but the light's on and that indicates power. So if it's off, there's no heat coming to it. The first setting is called a moon setting. They have a moon and a sun, and the moon setting is just going to heat up the bottom part of your mat. So depending on where you have your keyboard and things, so in my setting here at home, if I was to keep it here, I would probably keep it in the moon setting to keep the heat mostly on the bottom part of the mat. So at work, my keyboard is way up here, kind of have much more desk space to operate on. I like to write in front of my keyboard and stuff. So I put it on the full setting, so it's the full sun, I guess, as they say on this little indicator here. And so the whole mat gets warm, and it is really nice because sometimes if you're just sitting there typing and you get your whole forearm on top of this thing, is such a nice, really works out well, especially going into winter now. We're in December now. I bought it back in September, October, and even though it was still rather warm out and say the office was kind of on the warmer side and the AC was on, the tabletops or your desktops would still seem very cold, and you can put your hand between the two and it's just night and day between, we'll call this room temperature. It actually seems kind of cool, but then when you come over to the heat mat, it's just a really nice warm feeling. It doesn't get too hot. They have a warning on their website to not use a mouse with a battery in it, that it might get too warm, but I've been using one at work for a long time and with a wireless mouse with a battery, and that doesn't seem to be a problem. With my keyboards, probably overlap maybe like an inch down here or something, maybe a couple inches, but that hasn't seemed to be a problem either. I put paper on top of this. I keep it clean. I turn it off, when I'm not using it. So it's probably not a good practice to have a lot of loose paper sitting on top of it, because it does get warm, but it's not near as warm as something that goes through a copy machine. So when you think about how a copy machine works and they've got that fuser and how much temperature it takes to fuse the toner, it's nowhere near that kind of a temperature. So it's more just very, I'll call it therapeutic feeling more than anything. It's just a great thing to have. We'll look at the, like I said, I'll leave the details leave the affiliate link in the comment section below. I'd really recommend it. I think the only thing that's maybe a little weird about it is the power supply is kind of big. Let me pull it off. I'm going to unplug it here. So it's a 20-volt power supply, and it's kind of big, and it's like it takes up more than one space on your, even though you'd think it has one plug, it's like this part's too tall from the back of the plug, so it's hard to use the adjacent plug if this is plugged into it. I thought that could have been maybe a little bit better design, and if you found a different adapter, you could use it. I think this is, it's 2 amps, 20 volts, 2 amps, so that might be the one drawback, is if you get something like this, you're going to need somewhere to plug it in, obviously. So I know a lot of people, myself included, were short on outlets in the office, even if you've got a multi-plug. So this is just something else to plug in, obviously. But I love this thing, and I'm going to highly recommend it to anybody that's having some issues with cold hands at work or at home for that matter. They show pictures of it on the webpage, people putting their feet on it. I don't know what kind of surface is the heating element that's in here, if putting your feet on there is a good idea or not. I couldn't imagine that standing on this is a is a very good idea. I don't know if it's just like a foil surface underneath there, or if it's, I don't feel wires, and it doesn't feel like there's discrete wires going through here. So I don't know, putting our feet on it, that's a great idea or not. So I'm going to recommend just keeping it on the desktop and not on the floor. So I hope that's helpful to people if you have an issue with your hands getting cold. Like I said, this has been a great addition to my office, and I'm going to be upgrading my office here at home, rebuilding my desk and everything. And I'm definitely going to consider how I can incorporate this pad into my new desk design. So certainly something to look forward there, because my hands get cold here too, even as I put my hands on the wood. It's not freezing, but it's definitely cooler than when I have it on this warm mat here. So if you have any questions or suggestions, or any other kind of product you might want to hear about, let me know down in the comments section. And if you like what you saw, give me a thumbs up. And if you really like it, please subscribe. So thank you very much for watching.